गणपतिगुं हवामहे कविं कवीनामुपमश्रवस्तमम् ज्येष्ठराजं ब्रह्मणां ब्रह्मणस्पत आनः शृण्वन्नोतिभिः सेदसादनम् प्रणो देवे सरस्वती वाजेभिर्वाजिनीवती धीनामवित्रयवतो गणेशाय नमः सरस्वत्यै नमः श्रीगुरुभ्यो नमः हरिः ओम।
Om Shri Sairam. Offering a most humble pranams at the divine lotus feet of our beloved Bhagavan Shri Sathya Sai Baba Varu. Revered elders, my dear sisters and brothers, offering my loving Sairam to one and all. I am Sharvari Akshay Kulkarni from Karnataka South. I am blessed to be a part of Shri Sathya Sai National Leadership Program for Self-Transformation Batch 2023. It is indeed a special privilege and pleasure to welcome all of you to the 5th episode of Satsangatve Nissangatvam. Swami says, Satsangatve Nissangatvam, Nissangatve Nirmohatvam, Nirmohatve Nischalatatvam, Nischalatatve Jivan Muktihe. To attain freedom, steady mind, detachment, and delusion-free life, the first step is Satsang. There is no better Satsang than listening to the wisdom shared by great personalities who walk on the path of true human values. Today, we have a dynamic personality amidst us, who is an advisor, cabinet rank, Government of Telangana, who has dedicated his life to restore the law and order in the society, who is striving towards youth development in our nation. He is also the recipient of many recognitions and awards for his distinguished service. He is none other than Mr. A.K. Khan. Let us now be led into his journey through the audiovisual. An officer who made his name tackling communal riots, robbed the country, tackling drug peddlers and terrorists, streamlining traffic while at it, introducing a rule that drunk drivers will be sent to jail with heavy penalties to curb alcoholism, spearheading schools for the minority community, straightening out dacoits while on the way. The former IPS officer and former Commissioner of Police Hyderabad, Mr. Abdul Qayyum Khan, dedicating his life to Sathya, devoted to Dharma, disciplined to maintain Shanti, discriminates to relentlessly feel Prema, determined to Ahimsa. Mr. Khan jumped from a job as a researcher at the Indian Institute of Chemical Technology to the Indian Railway Traffic Service, who could have been the Railway Board Chairman. His first posting was in Vijayawada as ASP under training. An impactful short story writer, penning more than 200 stories, inspiring one too many, published the powerful AK-97, a compilation of 97 short stories. AK, also known as Andariki Kavalsina Khan, Khan who is loved by all. Mr. Khan also became famous for his fondness for Sanskrit, and he has read and can discuss the Bhagavatam. His favorite is the Arthashastra. He introduced welfare schemes and brought down the hired assassin culture and community policing for the win. Positions and titles powered through his way: SP, DIG, DCP, Head of the CID, IG, Police Commissioner, Director General. Yet SAI remains etched in him and powering him through. A fearless officer, driven by our Sanatana Sarathi to tread on the path of Sai, inspiring and discharging Kuladharma, duties related to occupational group; Desha Dharma, duty to the nation; Mata Dharma, duties pertaining to religion; Gana Dharma, duties relating to society; Apad Dharma, duty when facing danger. Through his life's journey, inspiring patriotism the Sai way, in Prashanti Seva through IPS, Mr. A.K. Khan. May I now kindly request our convener, Dr. Gopi Krishna Pidtala sir, to kindly say a few words. Over to you, Gopi sir. Thank you.
Thank you, Sharvari. What an introduction to Mr. A.K. Khan. I've known Mr. Khan for a long time, a family friend. Perhaps in my life journey, I have not come across a person like him, a very tough police officer with a smile always, and what a kind-hearted person he is. I know per se that he's been immensely blessed by Bhagwan, his entire family, and I'm sure that this session of his will be very important to all of us. There'll be a lot of learnings. His commitment to the country, his service, his idealism in action is something that we all need to learn. And with a deep round of applause from all of us, I request Mr. A.K. Khan to present his topic to all of us. Khan Garu, over to you. Thank you so much.
Really, in a way, humbled at the very generous introduction that both of you have made, and a bit deterred also at the thought, I don't know how I'm going to fare today with so much of expectation that we have aroused. Let me try to do justice. As Baba himself was a karma yogi, let me perform my karma today.
So before we move forward, sir, I have a small request. We have some Hindi-speaking states also. So I would request you to have your mix of Hindi and English, and also some personal, communications that you've had with Baba and his directions to you in your life. Would also be very interesting in your talk.
कोशिश तो जारी रहेगी. I don't know how fluent I am in Hindi. I'll try to intersperse here and there, but in the flow of thought, suppose if I stick more to English, just pardon me. जब आप शुरुआत करे हैं कि बताए हैं कि बाबा से हमारा इंटरेक्शन, तो पहले इसी से शुरू करना चाहूँगा मैं. Look, I come from the district Anantapur. Anantapur is the border district. Our host comes from Karnataka, so the last district we border Karnataka state also. Combined Andhra Pradesh, Anantapur was the place where Puttaparthi is located. And I come from a town called Penukonda, which was hardly about 30 kilometers away from Puttaparthi. So it was but natural that we used to hear of Baba right from our childhood. even in early 70s, late 60s, that time onwards. And we had the occasion to visit Prashant Nilayam also several times when we were passing through that side to other towns or to Prashant Nilayam itself. So that way, fair amount of intimacy with Baba, his service to humanity, and the institutions that were growing. In the 70s, I would like to inform the audience that the institutions were gradually growing. 70s and 80s was a period. By 90s, all of them had come to a very mature and a big condition. But that was a time Baba's service was spreading to several places. Of course, principally, it was initially in Puttaparthi, Bangalore, and then later it started spreading to many other places. With this brief introduction and then my own childhood association with Puttaparthi and the district where I come from, let me get into the topic proper now. Inspiring patriotism, the SAI way. There's a topic that has been given to me. What does patriotism mean? Patriotism, in a sense, all of us do understand devotion to one's motherland, devotion to one's nation, devotion to one's country. That is what we generally understand. And each of us in society perform our patriotic duties in a different way. Which a soldier on the borders, he defends the integrity of the nation. And he is expressing his patriotism that way. Which a doctor, a professor, by being a good doctor, a skillful doctor, a professor, by being a good professor and teaching the children, not just the education, but a lot of values associated with the character and what should be his duty towards the society and the nation. These are all patriotic duties. A student is patriotic when he studies well, not merely the knowledge part or the information part of it, but also alongside he's honing his character, he's assimilating a lot of values. He is being patriotic in that sense. This way, each one of us, when we do our duties sincerely, what is ordained to us in whatever role we are there, that particular moment, or for our lives. So that is what is meant to be the patriotism. So different people express it in a different way. If we see the Baba's way of expressing patriotism, let's see how he did it. Baba, see, the way he expressed his patriotism for his motherland was through service, through spirituality. The great people, they just don't keep the greatness to themselves. They want other people also to be great. They want to prepare great people and also serve the humanity through that greatness. This is exactly what Baba did through his institutions and through the organizations that he created and the people that he inspired. They also swung into action in that particular way. Service combined with spirituality, and when it is articulated and acted upon, action is very, very important in the end. That's what Sathya Sai group of institutions have all along been doing, inspired and then started by him. We have a saying, I think this is there in all languages. Hindi mein bhi hai, hamare paas bhi hai, Telugu mein bhi hum log bolte hain. Madhava sevaya manava sevaya madhava sevaya. In the sense, service to humanity, service to human beings, your fellow human beings, that is nothing less than Madhava Seva, serving God. You serve humanity, thereby serve God. So that Baba was an embodiment of this particular saying that we have in our culture, right from the beginning. And then I can again quote another Telugu poet, Gurzada Apparao. Gurzada Apparao was a poet who lived in the late 19th century and early part of 20th century, when Indians were trying to break from the shackles of the British rule. He had written a very inspiring poem in Telugu. He was something like Subramanya Bharati for Tamilians, what he was. Gurzada Apparao is for us, the Telugus. He had stated, Deshamante Matti Kadu, Deshamante Manishika. The nation does not merely constitute its geography, its hills, its mountains, its rivers. It goes much beyond. The people who inhabit the land, their values, their culture, their thinking, their development, this is what a true nation encompasses. This is what the great poet had told at the time. I'm certain Baba, being a very widely read person and a great thinking intellectual, he would definitely have come across this, and he would have been inspired by a great poet like Apparao, who preceded him by a couple of generations. So he lived his life to the hilt, living up to this particular dictum. Today's talk, I have picked up 3 areas of activity, Baba's activity through his institutions, through his devotees, which had inspired generations and also gone into nation building. Briefly, I'll touch on each 3 of them. 3 ऐसे पहलू हैं बाबा के जिंदगी में जिसके जरिए से जो लोक कल्याण के लिए जो काम करे हैं, ये this is something unparalleled. He inspired the intellectuals, inspired the commoners through that, but much more importantly, he inspired the governments also to swing into action. Naturally, whatever work they should have done, when they have not done it, very quietly, Sathya Sai institutions started doing, and thereby providing a cue to the government. And governments also started thinking, this is our duty, we should have done it. Baba has shown us the way now. Let's start doing at least now. That's the way he inspired not merely the individuals in this country or world over, but the governments themselves. First thing is, I pick up the field of education. The most important component for the development of humans, education. Sathya Sai Institutes of Higher Learning first started in Puttaparthi, then spread to many towns, cities. Now I think they have transcended the boundaries of the country, and then the world over we have the education institutions. The beauty of the education in these institutions is very high quality modern education, the cutting edge science, and then engineering and all those aspects. In medical sciences, the latest of the knowledge that is available in medical sciences. Along with that, never the sight was lost of for values and for spiritual. Values and spirituality, along with education, that is what. Baba was very often, he used to tell, Vidya vidho Shraddha is of no use. Shraddha and Vidya, ये दोनों को साथ में जोड़ना चाहिए, इसके साथ तालमेल होना चाहिए. Unless you do that, you can't have full benefit of education. You may have knowledge, but if you do not get wisdom, knowledge is of no value. So that is the guiding principle for the Sathya Sai various institutions of learning. Puttaparthi itself, it has a deemed university. Huge number of institutions exist there. Sathya Sai Institute of Higher Learning, the higher medical sciences institutes that are there, the medical colleges, those sort of things are there. Bangalore, Whitefield has a lot of such institutions, and in Hyderabad, practically in every district and town of big towns of combined Andhra Pradesh or outside in many other states, we have the institutions where millions and millions of children, they are acquiring quality education. Emphasizing this is very, very important because great men, they always think that unless you inspire the whole generations, whole communities, the benefit of the goodness, their thinking, and the spiritual values that all of us aspire for will not reach the humanity in a large scale. So that's why they're not only talk of service, they're not only talk of spirituality, they articulate it so that others get influenced by that. And then they themselves swing into action. They make thousands of their devotees swing into action. The net result is today we find such beautiful institutions across uh, across the world, and not merely in India. In Hyderabad and other places, I have very often partaken in the annual day celebrations. I visited these institutions and seen how, in a what fine manner the children there are being handled, along with modern education, how values are being imbibed into them, how patriotism is being imbibed into them. It's being told to them that doing your duty sincerely, whether you are a student or tomorrow when you become a full-fledged citizen of this country and get into any walk of life, how sincerely you work through education. The Satya Sai institution, the service they are doing to the nation, thereby contributing in their own patriotic way, something great. Two other things that Baba used to always talk about in Puttaparthi. One was the Vivekananda's, of course, he used to profusely quote Swami Vivekananda also. It's available in many of his discourses, many of his books also, it has been quoted. We require youngsters who have the nerves of steel and muscles of iron. So which means not only the intellectual capabilities, you must have that courage and that strength, deha. Without a proper deha, you can't serve the desha. So without our youth being very strong physically, they can't even serve the nation. This is another thing that he used to talk about to his students. Puttaparthi, I don't know how many of you have visited. Those who have visited, you would have seen. There's a beautiful stadium also that was constructed during the lifetime of Baba. And it was very often in 1970s and 1980s, even in 1990s, the entire Indian cricket team used to go and play there at Baba's invitation. So much he had laid emphasis on the other attributes of the development of youngsters also, and the students, not merely the intellectual attainments, along with values. The physical development also was very, very important. This is what he had defined as integrated education for our youngsters. So these are some of the things that we that come to our mind when we think of Baba and how he contributed to this nation building, and which itself was a huge patriotic activity. There was a small incident which I myself had seen when I was in Puttaparthi. Baba had just returned from Bangalore. Some high-level examinations in the Satya Sai Institute of Higher Learning. The students had attended those exams. When students went and met him, he was inquiring from them, how are the results? How has the student fared? Results were not very encouraging that year. So he got so annoyed with the youngsters. He told them in Telugu, "Muputla baga bhojanam chesi, Baba and bhajana chestu undandi, anni vastayi meeku." What it meant was, I'll translate into English. You just do keep doing bhajan 24 hours day and night. Baba, bhajan you keep doing and you will get results. See, he is a karma yogi. He knew, yes, devotion is important, reverence is important, but action is equally important. Without action, you can't get the results. This is what he wanted to emphasize to that young generation, and this is what his institutions keep echoing day in and day out. So, this is one very, very important aspect of this thing, that without action you can't get results. That's why all of us who have known him and imbibed his philosophy and way of thinking, we definitely reckon him as a great karma yogi. The second aspect that I would like to dwell upon is what he did in the area of medical and health. It's something fantastic. I told you I come from the district, Anantapur. मैं वहाँ का रहने वाला हूँ, Anantapur district का. इतना पिछड़ा हुआ डिस्ट्रिक्ट है वो कि सही तरीके के हॉस्पिटल्स भी नहीं थे, not even one medical college anywhere near close by. And then it was very, very difficult for people to get quality medical attention. And then in Puttaparthi, we started the super specialty hospitals. Not merely started huge infrastructure, had the best of the latest diagnostic and then other medical equipment there, but then he could inspire great medical practitioners of this country, highly skilled doctors and physicians to come and serve there without any imposing any cost on the hospitals. अब ये हॉस्पिटल्स की खूबी ये है कि यहाँ एक पैसे का बिल नहीं होता। दुनिया में शायद एक सत्य साई इंस्टीट्यूशंस के जो हॉस्पिटल्स हैं, यही हॉस्पिटल्स हैं जहाँ पर कहीं भी एक बिलिंग काउंटर नहीं होता है, कहीं भी पैसे की बात नहीं होती है। Even the heart transplant surgeries that are done, cancer treatments that are done, costing lakhs and lakhs of rupees, but not a pie is charged. But the quality is, it matches the best anywhere in the country or outside. मैं एक दो उदाहरण भी दे सकता हूँ आपको, जैसे एस्कॉट्स हॉस्पिटल है दिल्ली में, वहाँ पर डॉक्टर त्रेहान साहब हैं, a very famous surgeon and then a very well known in the community of cardiologists. He used to regularly come and perform surgeries here, heart transplants. He used to open heart surgeries. They used to go on in Satya Sai hospitals at Puttaparthi at no cost to the patient. Not only the patient is taken care of, even the attendants who go with them, they are taken. This is the sort of service he started. And in Whitefield also, you would have seen in Bangalore, at the hospital, in the lawn there and in many other places, there is a beautiful quotation that has been embedded in the carpet there, in the grass, in the lawn. That is, love all, serve all. यहाँ पर जो भी मरीज जाते हैं, जो पेशेंट जाते हैं ये हॉस्पिटल्स में, ना इनकी जात पात पूछी जाती है, ना कौन से रिलीजियंस के हैं, ऐसा किसी तरह का सवाल नहीं होता. So that is the ultimate service that is being done. And you know the result of this in Anantapur and in some neighboring districts, the government started thinking when Baba, with the contributions of the devotees and then whatever resources he could raise, he could do it. Governments with so much of financial resources and such huge organizations and hundreds and thousands of doctors working with them, why can't we do it? The quality of medical service in that district and in neighboring districts improved dramatically. This is how Baba inspired action in the governments in the field of medical and health in that particular area. No, this is one aspect. And then मैं डॉक्टर त्रिहान साहब का जिक्र तो कर रहा हूँ, मगर इसके साथ ही साथ देखिए आप दुनिया भर के बहुत सारे मशहूर जो डॉक्टर्स हैं, जो एक्सपर्ट्स हैं, ये सब कभी ना कभी यहाँ पर आए हैं और फ्री सर्विस करना पसंद करें. So this is because the power of service, as Baba used to tell, the power of service, the power of spirituality is too great. It can strike a chord in the people, in the hearts of the people, and inspire them also towards action. This is exactly what had happened. अब गुलिस्ता 2-3 साल के दौरान हम खुद देखे हैं यहाँ पर कि कोविड का टाइम था. कोविड के टाइम में वेंटिलेटर्स की कमी थी, बेड्स की कमी थी, ऑक्सीजन कॉन्सेंट्रेटर्स की कमी थी, मगर जो भी मरीज यहाँ पर जाता था पुट्टपर्ती या सत्य साई ग्रुप ऑफ इंस्टीट्यूशंस में, no patient was turned away. They were all taken care of there. यहाँ तक के बहुत सारे डिस्ट्रिक्ट कलेक्टर्स जो हैं, डिस्ट्रिक्ट मैजिस्ट्रेट्स हैं, वो भी मरीजों को सत्य साई इंस्टीट्यूट को भेजा करते थे when there is a limitation in the government hospitals, the number of beds and ventilators, etc. So, and then every one of the attendants who are associated with Satya Sai institutions, They served with utmost devotion and saved a lot of lives. And then when somebody unfortunately expired, the way with the dignity with which those bodies were taken care of. We have known in COVID times, even the relations were not coming forward to take the bodies. The friends were missing when the families needed them to take the bodies and then do decent funerals. But Sathya Sai hospitals, Sathya Sai devotees, they had done it. This is how Baba had inspired them into action. This is, to me, a very, very high grade of expression of patriotism towards your own citizens and citizenry. So this is as regards the medical aspect. The third and very important aspect, particularly for us who come from that area, that district, I'll have to give you a small background. See, Anantapur district is in a rain shadow area. The rainfall is very, very low there. In fact, it is second lowest rainfall district in the entire country out of nearly 600 districts after Jaisalmer in Rajasthan, which is in Thar Desert. Anantapur is the one which receives minimum rainfall, 54 centimeters annually, which is very, very low. That's why in the crops there, except millets, you cannot grow anything else. Such an area. And drinking water in summer, we used to see the women folk going miles and miles to get one pot of water. This was the scenario in 1970s, 1960s. But then in 1990s, I think 1994 was the year, Baba's birthday. That day, he made an announcement. In Anantapur district, to hundreds of villages and all the municipalities, through Sathya Sai Seva activities, the service activities, water will be made available within 1 year's time. All his devotees who were engineers and big organizations like L&T, all of them swung into action. Exactly in 1 year's time, 700 villages and close to 13 municipalities started getting water. Massive infrastructure was created. Hundreds and hundreds of miles of pipelines were laid. Reservoir was constructed. Balancing reservoirs were constructed. Overhead tanks in every single village were constructed. And close to 9 lakh people, 900,000 people started getting drinking water in 1 year's time. The women folk did not have to spend half a day, 1 day, just looking for a pot of water. So this is how he could do. You know, the impact of this was, one is government also cooperated in this effort once Baba started taking the lead and started went on with this project. But then later, this project started expanding because of the inspiration that is given by Baba and Sathya Sai institutions. Today, perhaps all the villages there are covered, all the towns. In the neighboring districts also have started getting that. This is why we who come from that area, we always tell that all the government efforts together in the last 60, 70 years have not done as much as Sathya Sai institutions have done for the development of that district, that area, benefiting lakhs and lakhs of people in the area of education, in the field of medical and health services, and then in the area of drinking water. So forever, the humanity part will definitely be indebted and grateful for that. See, this is what, this is another aspect that I would like to tell is Baba's birthdays. As one from that district, as well as a police officer, when I reached the senior positions, many times we had to make huge arrangements there, policing arrangements. You see, Baba's birthdays perhaps there is no president of India, no prime minister of India who had not made his presence on Baba's birthday as long as he was alive. Even later, after he left the world, that even later in his birthdays, many important people started going and making common cause with whatever memories he had left. So that is it. So why was this? This was because he had endeared himself. He had, through the spread of his activities, he had done so much of service to this nation and to humanity that everybody were getting inspired and they wanted to be there. And the birthday celebrations were leveraged so beautifully to mobilize the resources, not just financial resources. Many of the technocrats, many of the intellectuals, they used to make a beeline there world over. They all come there, they get inspired, they commit themselves to do something, to be part of Baba's activities for the greater good of humanity. So that's how even his birthdays had a great impact. In all his actions, in all his institutions, two things stand out. In his lifetime, he articulated them many a time, and they were deeply embedded into the psyche. They're etched into the memories of his devotees and in the minds of all those who run his institutions. The five values that he talked about: Sathya, Dharma, Shanti, then Prema and Ahimsa. These are the five values that he wanted every human to hold it close to his heart. In all the actions that they do, he always used to tell that there should be, these values should guide every human being. Then there would be love, there would be harmony, and there would be amity among peoples, and then the humanity will definitely progress once it sticks to this. And then the 5 Ds that he used to talk about. Once I had the good fortune to listen to him when I was there somewhere in the early 1990s. The strategy to achieve these 5 was through dedication, through discipline, devotion, of course, devotion came first, then discrimination. Discrimination between good and bad, not between individual to individual or person to person based on the birth, creed, community, or religion. That distinction was totally obliterated. Every human being, every human was same. That was the essential humanism that Baba had preached. And the last D that he had talked about was determination. One should have the devotion. Alongside, we should have the discipline to work, to fructify that devotion. And then he has to dedicate himself to a cause, work determined with determination. And at the same time, when he's doing this, the guiding principle should be the discrimination between good and bad, whether what he is doing, whether his devotion is for a good cause, right cause, and whether he is doing in a determined way, in disciplined way, in making that a reality. That discrimination between good and bad, only for good causes, that sort of devotion should come, that sort of action should come. And this is something as a strategy that he left behind for all of us. And I'm very certain that Sathya Sai group of institutions and all the devotees who are inspired by him would definitely be following that path and going ahead. And this is the way, the great personality that he was. He inspired us to work for our motherland and do good to our society, to our nation. So I would think that this is the best way of expressing our own patriotism. Patriotism, when we say, is nothing but devotion to one's own motherland, devotion to motherland should ultimately result in action and result in greater good for all of us. So that is what he enunciated, that is what he did. So I think, I'm sorry, I went on mostly into English because that's the way we are tuned to speak these days. Though I'm familiar with Urdu and Hindi, I had studied Hindi in graduation, but still, because of non-usage of the language, being a southerner, I'm not too fluent in Hindi, and that too, when the flow of thought goes, it goes in one particular language. Once again, apologizing for that particular small lapse. I think I'll end here. If there are any questions by way of interaction, I'll be too willing to take.
Sure, sir. Thank you very much. We'll now open the floor for question and answers. Dear brothers and sisters, you may please raise your hand or drop your questions in the chat. And then you can unmute yourself and ask your question. Yes, Sister Sairam, go ahead, please.
Sairam sir, a very good evening and thanks for your time, and we had so many input from you. So my question here is like you have been into so many roles, and there are situations like you have become furious at some situations to the people who did some wrong things. So how did you control such emotions and handle that situation?
I think getting angry at injustice, and then because out of that anger, some action results, and that is also that is justified. That's what I feel. When something wrong is happening, not accepting it, and then doing it. But then you see, we are all trained in two ways. One is the informal training that we have right from our childhood in our households, the value system that we have. Even talked of anger. So how to control the anger, how to keep it within limits. This is one sort of huge training that takes place in the society. The most immediate society is your own family, your parents, your siblings, and your grandparents, etc. What sort of values and personality they have given you. That is one part of it. The second is the formal training that you undergo. Once you get selected, say in my case, for example, Indian Police Service, when I got into, 2 years of rigorous training is given to us. When to use the weapons, when not to use. When to use coercion, when to use the force, when not to use. Alongside the things like human rights, and then you are acting against your own citizens. So how much to control yourself and where to stop. How much of retribution, how much of rectification of that particular individual. कहाँ तक सुधार के लिए कोशिश करना है लोगों में और कहाँ तक पनिशमेंट की ओर जाना है. ऐसे सब बातों पर ट्रेनिंग में ध्यान दी जाती है. इसके बाद भी हम लोग जब भी सर्विस में होते हैं, सिचुएशन हैंडल करते रहते हैं, हमारे दिमाग में ये बात चलती ही रहती है कि what is called to what degree we should act and use force and where should we stop. छोटी गलती के टाइम में कैसे एक्ट करना है, कोई बड़ी गलती हो जाती है उसके टाइम में कैसे करना चाहिए. अल्टीमेटली सुधार कहाँ तक लाना है, कहाँ तक पनिशमेंट देना है, ये सब चलती रहती है. Ultimately, as I said, it's not only the service that you have chosen, the training you have undergone, but what sort of personality has built up in you right in your childhood. That's why education is very, very important. Education happens in homes, in family. Education happens in society. Education happens in the education institutions. Teacher's role also. In Telugu, normally it is said Vidya Buddhulu. In the sense, it's not only the academics that you learn when you go to an institution. From a teacher's greater role perhaps is to set you thinking and give you a good, valid value system. All these guide us throughout our lives in whatever profession we choose. The police profession is no different.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you.
Thank you, sir. The next question we received on the chat is, Sairam sir, please tell one incident how you could handle a situation when you were in Telangana as a police commissioner.
See, somehow right throughout my career, first 4-5 years later, the first tough posting I got in a district where things are pretty bad. Went there, worked hard with the help of my colleagues and a lot of officers. And on its own also situation had improved. I still remember before going and taking charge there, I had met Swami Ranganathananda in the RK mission, Ramakrishna mission here in Hyderabad. I told him, Swami, I'm going to such a place which is really horrible. I don't know how I'll fare there. He told me one thing. You yourself are telling that the situation has turned so bad. The situation is very bad there. So which means it has hit the rock bottom. When you start attempting, from there onward, there will be improvement only. There won't be any deterioration because there is no, you have touched the bottom already. It can't go beyond that. So after that, I started getting tough postings throughout my career. Wherever there was chaos, there was a problem. In the government, I was one of those who was being considered for such postings. Hyderabad was no exception. When I came to Hyderabad, the month I took over, one is the separate statehood agitation was raging. It was at virulent because 2009 to 2012, these are the 3 years I was Commissioner of Police here. Earlier, of course, I had worked as Deputy Commissioner of Police, Joint Commissioner. Totally 17 years I had worked in Hyderabad City Police. When I came as Commissioner of Police, that was one thing that was happening. Second one was, in major part of the city, the huge communal conflagration was on, the Hindu-Muslim riots. In fact, one of the first acts I had to do when I became Commissioner of Police, within the first month itself, I had to impose curfew in huge part of the city to restore law and order, to see that lives are not lost. Alongside this separate statehood agitation that was going on, we had to handle it. One was, at times like this, you had to forego all your personal comforts, rest, etc. You have to really work hard. There were times when we used to work 20-22 hours also. And then beautiful set of officers. See, one thing I have seen, when you are heading an organization, once you set values and then tell your officers what to do, what not to do, get their cooperation, and also allow them sufficient freedom to act, you yourself are very clear and kind to them. The organizations respond. They give a lot of results. And in such a situation, if you are a little spiritually inclined, and then you have a proper value system, people also start trusting you. You have to be very, very fair and honest with the people, whatever community it is. So if you say something and do something else, they see you through. So once they know that you mean what you say, in your toughness, and you are being fair to everybody, you are taking certain actions because they are for the good of the society. Your own officers, the thousands and thousands of men who are with you, the policemen, I mean, they respond. They responded in those situations, 2009, 10, 11, when we had tough times in Hyderabad city. And along with that, the people also started behaving. But for a few miscreants who could be separated out and dealt with separately. Even now, a lot of my colleagues who were with me at that time in tough times, when we meet, we reminiscence on those days and look back with satisfaction. Times were tough, yes, but we did with sincerity whatever we could. Results could have come most of the times, and sometimes they could not have come. So that's how the game goes in society. It was all right. But by and large, law and order was fairly well handled. That was the impression of the society at large as well as the governments.
Thank you, sir. Sister Sushmita, please go ahead, please.
Sir, so we have been seeing you for a very long time being the resident of Hyderabad and Telangana, your work in media and all.
I think you'll have to repeat. I'm not getting it very clearly.
Able to hear me now, sir?
Can you keep the mic closer to you, please?
So now we're able to hear, sir?
Yes.
Okay. So we have been seeing you from our childhood, you being the active police commissioner in Hyderabad. But then I wonder how you are so grounded, in your profession, you need to take many tough decisions and you have to be grounded at times. So what makes you, or, what is the power, like how we are so grounded, so calm, and, when you make some statements and all in media and all, just want to know about it. Sir.
I'm a great believer in the Gita Shloka, Karmanyevadikarastu Mahaleshu Kadachi. I do your duty. And after that, what else do you do? You have done your best. If you have not done your best, things go wrong, then you have a right to feel bad. You should feel bad. After you have done your best, every situation is not under your control. Then a few things happen. What do? You just take it in stride. So that is one part of it. This is where I am telling your value systems and how spiritually you are inclined definitely would help. I'm see, Indian culture gives you a lot of equanimity, sthita pragnata, what we call. Alongside, I'm a very devout Muslim. I do my prayers. Whatever I do. Rest of it, I leave it to God. Every civilization, every culture teaches us this. You are after all a human being. Only action is in your hands. Gita also tells you that only action is in your hands. Results are not in your hands. Once you have done it, beyond that, what else do you do? This is one part of it. Second part, I also play sports very regularly. Even now I play cricket with youngsters. I play tennis. You see, one beauty of playing games and sports, that is why I was mentioning about Baba starting that stadium in Puttaparthi. One very, very important aspect of education in Puttaparthi is every student has to spend at least an hour in the playground. In fact, now I am running a education society where I have 204 residential schools. I have made it compulsory. Without playground, there won't be a school. It's unfortunate that many schools have come up now in second floor, third floor buildings in commercial areas, etc. The children do not have any contact with the they don't even come into contact with the celestial soil, isn't it? So they live somewhere and then study. Only academics has become education now. So playing games and sports is very, very important. But games is one area which definitely teaches you a lot of qualities. Sometimes you lose, sometimes you gain. Once you have lost a point, how you spring back to succeed again. This is a very great quality that everyone, it's a life skill that games teach you. That naturally that percolates into your official working also. Today I have done my best. I could not succeed in my plans. Let me rework and see whether same plans work or some other plan. Next day I take it up in another way and do it. That way you'll have more hits than misses if you have that attitude. So I combinedly I would say you should have good knowledge of your job, of your men, and be a true leader to them by really working hard along with them. Don't just tell them something and you go and just enjoy your life or take rest. That's not done. In fact, I love moving around in the streets of Hyderabad, playing cricket with the children in small playgrounds on the roads, and then also moving about with communities, walking, entering their houses and partaking in a cup of tea or breakfast, etc. It's a beautiful experience, which as a police officer, as police commissioner of Hyderabad, I had hundreds of homes I would have visited during that time, hundreds of education institutions I would have visited and talked to the students. When we don't do this, then you are totally cut off from the community. You do not know what is happening, and expecting cooperation from the community in discharge of your duties is next to impossible in that situation. We did it. The communities also responded, and then we could succeed in that. Now these 204 education institutions for which we have a society, I am the president of that society. Luckily, all the children stay in hostels and study with us. So they are available to us for 24 hours. We are not only taking care of their academics, most of the things that I talked about now, we are trying to inculcate in those children, inculcate in the children, so that many lakhs of children, when they come out and they become better citizens, useful to themselves, to their families, and to the society, how much of transformation it will bring about in society. These are all the things of patriotism, if you ask me. Doing your duty sincerely, thinking about your society, and working in whatever capacity you are working sincerely for the good, for your own good, and for the good of the society. This is the way in which each one of us can express our patriotism.
Thank you so much, sir.
Thank you, sir. I'm taking the next question from the chat and clubbing two together. Sairam, sir, how has Swami guided you towards your work commitment, and what change have you experienced in your life journey? Please share your conversations with Swami, if any.
You see, conversations one, I told you about when the students, the results had come about. Swami had just returned from Bangalore. The way he was interacting, of course, we also partook in that small conversation at that time. But, my first interaction with Swami was, I did not know. I was a perhaps class 9 or 10 student at the time. I was passing through, close to Puttaparthi, our vehicle broke down. So we went into Prashant Nilayam and stayed there for the night, rested for the night. That night, Swami came to us and he just asked who we were. And then we just interacted very normally and told him. Next morning, the beauty was 5 o'clock when we were getting up and going. We were served a cup of coffee and a little breakfast. They said Swami had asked us to serve. The devotees who were there, they brought and gave it to us. That was the first ever interaction that I had with the divinity of Swami. Then the next small conversations were there. They were of no great consequence. But most of the times when you are there in Puttaparthi, you keep your eyes, particularly ears and mind, very open and sharp to grasp what he is telling and try to read the import of what he tells. That way, conversation need not be a two-way conversation, a dialogue, but silently listening and then absorbing whatever was happening and interacting his idea with our minds. Also, I think was a type of conversation we had. That sort of instances were too many.
Thank you, sir. Sister Ananya Singh, please go ahead.
Sairam sir, first of all, thank you so much for your experiences and this great knowledge. And my question is, like, from last few years, I am experiencing that I think my environment, my people who are living around me or nearby, they are affecting us, our behavior or act, something like that. Like if they are aggressive, and sometimes I'm also feeling aggression, something like that. So how, and I think you must have lived in this type of situation a lot. I want to ask, like, how you are handling these situations, because I feel difficulties, like how to hold my real self, like how we are supposed to be. I want to know this.
First, let me tell you in a lighter vein. First, earlier, of course, we our profession is such that very often we have run-ins with the politicians. Sometimes we feel that they are not being too ethical. They are expecting a lot of unwanted things, or they're creating problems for you. So my way of dealing with such situations was evening, go and play a game of tennis. Imagine that politician to be that ball and keep on hitting as hard as you can. So that's a way of retaliating and overcoming your anger. Somewhere you have to vent it out, you do it. But as you age along, of course, you are still very young compared to me. I'm 68 now. So you are very young still. As you go along, you will see that there will always be unscrupulous people, unreasonable people, violent people around you. One is stand up to your right, and whatever you think, tell courageously, do courageously. But one mistake that when we are young, we commit is we allow it to keep on hopping your mind for a long time. That affects us. That affects our health, that affects our concentration, maybe our studies, maybe the way we attend to our work also, because that keeps on working in our mind. And how to throw it out of your system as quickly as possible. This is something that can come only through sadhana. I can tell you, meditation is a very, very good way of training your mind. And then also, whether it's there in Indian civilization, in Hinduism, in Buddhism, for example, Buddha also had articulated it in a very beautiful way. He said, if somebody is throwing garbage at you, you don't become a dustbin and hold it in. So if you are not accepted it, it is not in you. That's all. If somebody is being aggressive to you through words, if they stop with that, just get over it. Get over it. If it is affecting you, then you see to what extent you can act. But then after having completed the action, there are certain institutionalized mechanisms also. If he is affecting you even more, you can take the help of elders in the area or the formal structures that are available. Suppose if violent behavior of somebody, even police can be roped into this. They are bound to help you. That's their duty. So that is one part of it. After having dealt with the situation, after overcoming that, do not keep it in mind much subsequently. Here and there, we are all humans. Ultimately, it keeps on coming back to the mind. But try to see that such relapses into those bad memories are as rare as possible. Ultimately, slowly see whether you can obliterate it out of your mind. All of us have to become stronger personality-wise. And I myself have seen meditation is an excellent way of overcoming these sort of feelings. 20 minutes, if you can sit still without thinking of anything, you will see how well you would have trained your mind on a daily basis. And it helps you in many ways, not only to concentrate on what you are doing, but also to remove all this toxic waste that accumulates in your mind.
Thank you so much, sir.
Thank you, sir. Brother Saurabh, please go ahead. You're on mute, brother.
Sairam, sir. I'm very curious to know, as you said that you are a very devoted Muslim, then what made you go through the Bhagavad Gita?
See, my point is very simple. I say, let me be very, very frank on this. One is minorities in this country. A Muslim in this country has in tennis what you call left-handers advantage. You see, the left-hander, the right-handers find it very difficult to play against left-handers. You know why? In tennis. Because there are very few left-handers. Left-hander knows the right-hander's game. Right-hander does not know as much about the left-hander's game. That's what gives the advantage. Like you can see why Rafa Nadal was so successful. See, we were born in a culture, a civilization, where per se you will have most of your friends are Hindus. In classroom, out of a strength of 40, 36, 37 would be Hindus. They are our friends. We used to go to their home, stay there, participate in their festivals and study. And then, you know, my father also was in the IPS. He worked in many places in the districts. He never allowed us to go to any privileged schools. He would always say, you will study in government schools. And you will study in the vernacular media. In the beginning, when we were talking of devotion to motherland, Baba had told another thing. Swami had told another thing. Devotion to your motherland and mother tongue, both are important. I followed this. And most of your literature, religious literature, the literature in vernacular languages, it's steeped in epics, it's steeped in the ethos of our nation. So it's very, very natural that you start imbibing this. Alongside, if you have interest in comparative religion. You want to be a good Muslim, you does not have to, knowledge of other languages, other religions will definitely enrich you. I can tell you there are any number of similarities. As one who has seen Gita, Arthashastra is one I have really studied in detail. I can tell you, Arthashastra, for instance, in Sanskrit, Nilakanta Shastri's rendition is really good. 1998 in the Samastha of Mysore, he had written it. If you can get hold of it, you read the text, it's beautiful. So, Gita, lot of shlokas in Gita, they echo what is there in Purana. The poems, the surrendering to the creator, and all these concepts, they are there. Sometimes they are there in verbatim. I don't know how it has happened between this civilization and another civilization that came up in Arab lands, and then the scriptures coming up there and scriptures here. There are a lot of spirituality aspect there. Unfortunately, what is happening, every religion is picking up the negative aspects of it. When I present best aspects of my religion, and then start commenting on the worst aspects of other religion. This has become a social affliction with us in our country. So it's not good. Once we take a little effort and start looking into other religions, then we will know there is a lot of good in every religion. Whether it be Swami Vivekananda or Swami Sathya Sai Baba, see, they have talked occasionally about other religions, other civilizations. About Islam also they have talked about the beauty of Islam, about the Prophet's life, etc. Lot of occasions on which they have talked. Unfortunately, they don't get enough of attention and publicity. I would feel that just because you are born in one religion, you should not study other religion or pick up good points about other religion. It's not a right sign for a good civilization.
Thank you, sir. Taking another question from the chat. Sairam, sir, thank you so much for the beautiful session. I just want to know why you chose IPS and not IAS or IFS.
Quite frankly, I did not get into IAS. That was the problem. I would have got, but then I would have got a cadre like Assam, Meghalaya. I did not want to go into that area. So here, being from my home state, Andhra Pradesh, in IPS, I was getting my home state. I preferred joining IPS. But now looking back, perhaps I made an absolutely correct decision in staying with IPS in Andhra Pradesh. In a culture that you understand, in the language that you can speak, in people that you understand, all these things, particularly the IAS and IPS, they take you very close to the society, to the people whom you are supposed to serve. Alongside the wisdom my father had in sending us only to government schools, they kept us in touch with with children with very common background, middle classes, lower middle classes, and even poorest of the sections. And having friendships across the children coming up from every possible background, you understand the society much better. When you come into a police service, where most of the time you keep serving the poor, of course, rich also would come. Anybody can come who is in difficulty, distress. You deal with all of them. But then you can definitely relate much better to the society. Your value system will totally be different. That's why I always used to tell. I can give, if you have time, I can give you one small example. This is one thing that I have told all my people. Look at the distress of the people. Don't look at how much somebody has lost, or how much, whether a murder has taken place in a rich family or a poor family. Most of the times we keep seeing, whenever an important man is killed, we think that that's a catastrophe. His family would be suffering. We go express condolences and do that. When I have seen in communal rights or in ordinary murders sometimes, when a poor man getting murdered, in fact, the loss to his family is much more because he was the only breadwinner. The wife could be illiterate and children could have no other shelter. So they suffer much more. Compared to a rich man, that family suffering similar situation. So that's why if you have understood the society properly, you relate to the poor, you relate to the rich, relate to everybody's suffering very well. So I think that's one big gain that I had by being in police service, interacting very intimately with society, along with the value system that we inherited, part of our education and within the families, whatever were taught to us, and culturally with the friends and others, whatever we got. And that's of a great help.
Thank you, sir. Brother Balan, please go ahead.
Sairam, sir. Sir, I like to ask one question, that is, if you have to teach or motivate today's youth generation about the patriotism, how will you motivate them? And what do you think about those people who think that they can celebrate patriotism only on the occasion of 15 August by posting the logos and the flag and other things on the status? Or how will you just explain, sir?
No, I would definitely say whether it be celebration on Independence Day or Republic Day is very important. There's no doubt about it. And similarly, when we sing national anthem or raise up and stand in the theater when national anthem is being played, these are all very important because from time to time, it keeps on reminding you of your duty to your nation and then how important those days were in our nation's history. So that's really important. That's why when we were children, some of us who are beyond 60 years of age here would definitely recollect. Every August 15th, we would go to our schools. Earlier day, we would decorate our schools. That day, we would go there, participate in the Independence Day celebrations. From there, march and go to the parade ground, district police parade ground, where the district collector or minister, they would unfurl the flag and give a message. This was our childhood experience in 1960s and 1970s. Unfortunately, now we have come to a situation where these 2 days are taken as holidays. Most of the parents don't send them to the schools, and the school authorities also don't insist the children coming from there. This is one side of it. The second part, how do you talk of patriotism? Whether these things are patriotism? Yes, they are expression of patriotism. It has to be done so that from time to time we get reminded. As I said several times during this talk itself, doing your duty sincerely. One is you develop yourself to the fullest potential in whatever skills you want to acquire. Skills would mean not only the skills in a particular profession. Alongside values also, very skillfully, they should be interwoven into your personality. You should develop as an individual. You should become a great and good citizen who is in a position to contribute to the development of the country. After that, doing your work sincerely, this is the minimum act of patriotism that you can do. In the beginning, I told you, a soldier, how does he express his patriotism? By showing his courage and valor on the border, by defending the borders. That's how he does it. A doctor, without just expecting only the monetary returns from a patient, if he contributes his maximum, and alongside, also, yes, he has to run his family, he needs certain support. Yes, he is entitled to earn through his profession. But then it should be a just earning, Baba had clearly said, I don't know, this is another time in one of the interactions he was mentioning, I have seen this in Puttaparthi when I was there on that day. He was mentioning that the wealth should be like a shoe in your feet. In the sense, whatever you want to earn, whatever you want to save, it should be something like a shoe. It should fit exactly. It should be sufficient to meet your needs, and you should be comfortable. You should have a comfortable life. But you should not be so much through greed. You should not earn so much that if the shoe is of a bigger size than what your foot size is, what use it is for you? It is not. Wealth also is something like that. It's something like a footwear. Something like a footwear. It should be adequate for you to have a comfortable life, but then it should not be so much that it should start troubling you. Now we keep seeing, I am seeing many of them, all of you would be seeing how wealth is spoiling the future generations, earning of too much of wealth by the certain generations, hoarding, keeping, depriving others who should have some money and wealth for their needs. We are depriving them on one hand. Second one is accumulation of too much of wealth in certain families. What is happening to the next generations there? They don't work hard. They become wayward. These are the children, these are the generations which are getting into drugs and all sorts of bad habits and costly pastimes, etc., spoiling their personalities. So you are spoiling them by giving the excess of it. It should be just sufficient, not more and not less also.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you, sir. Brother Sukrit, go ahead, please.
Sairam sir, am I audible?
Yeah, perfectly.
Sairam sir, it was a very wonderful session, and I want to ask you, in today's world where you open internet and news, you always listen things like polarity, and people are very aggressive about expressing themselves. How to protect your own discrimination or own thought that it should not be get swayed away because of these high aggressive conveying way of thoughts.
One is, if you ask me what I do personally, I have stopped watching news for the last 3 years now. I don't switch on any English channel when any discussion takes place. It's unfortunate. What is happening is unfortunate. Now I have realized, maybe 3-4 years back, I would have thought how difficult it is to get disconnected from the world. Newspapers are better compared to television. Newspapers I read. But then when it comes to television, I don't watch it at all. And I don't think I'm missing anything. So I don't even think about it. I switch on the TV only for 2 reasons now. Only one reason. When I'm being a sports person, whenever good matches of any kind, whether it be football or tennis or cricket, anything goes on, that's the time I switch on. Otherwise, I don't. So this is one very good way so that you personally don't start getting raised and then start accumulating the toxin inside you. That is one part of it. Second one, see, being spiritual. See, this is what great people like Baba teach us. Mahatma Gandhi certainly taught us how to be religious without being communal. He was deeply religious. He was a very, very devout Hindu. He practiced his religion to the hilt. But then he also taught us religion does not mean communalism, isn't it? That is one part of it. People like Baba or Swami Vivekananda, they transcended the religion and they showed us how to be spiritual and not merely being religious. Unfortunately, religiosity in today's world has come to only observance of certain rituals and expression of those rituals, etc. This is what we have brought the religion down to. But religion, if somebody studies it, the problem is none of these people have studied religion in depth. If you study religion in depth, the philosophical basis of any religion, it starts with peace. It starts with coexistence. It definitely encompasses humanism, and then treating everybody equally, treating neighbors well. All these sort of fundamental precepts exist in the religion. But then when we only pick up certain aspects, the visual aspects of it, and then become aggressive and try to turn society aggressive. It's not a right thing. Only thing is looking at the long period, millennia, several millennia of our existence as Indian civilization. We should only think that this should be a passing phase, and later again, the strong philosophical basis that is of our culture, our religion, that will start surfacing. Even today, there are any number of people who criticize what is happening around us, the polarization, the type of aggression that is taking place. Many are not happy and comfortable. There could be a few, but they are the ones who speak up. They are the ones who get away. But most part of it, the Indian civilization can never be aggressive, given its philosophical moorings and the philosophical basis that the religion and culture is.
Sairam.
Thank you, sir. Sorry, with the interest of time, that will be the last question for tonight. We know we have a few questions on the chat and also raised hands here, but we'll try to take it up later with you, sir. May I now request Dr. Gopikrishna Peditala to share a few words, please.
Sairam, and what a lovely session. Kangaru, you rock all the way you rock, and this practical approach of how to lead life and how to actually handle situations, being in control of your mind and how to go about is a great teaching. And I'm sure all our children who are here in this call have imbibed so many good things. And at the bottom of our heart, we thank you for being with us. I have a small request, Kangaru. The next time when we have a session, I want you to be physically doing this, and we would like to we invite you to Puttaparthi when we have a valedictory function, and we'll be very happy. You should travel back home once to your Penugunda and stop by and.
In fact, in the month of January, I got to Puttaparthi.
Oh, is it? So we will repeat that. January is when we're going to have the valedictory again, and we'll repeat it, and we'll be very, very happy you can have your presence, and we would like to hear you again in offline. Online sometimes have its own problems and challenges, but listening to you, seeing the awesome aura that you carry as a human being is something that I want all the children to physically see. To all those who are there in the call today, Mr. Khan is a very lovely and a very dear friend. His dad and my dad work together, and we're all from this Anantapur district. That's how it is. And thank you. And I also want to thank
your dad and my dad studied in the same college also.
Same college also, right? Same college. So I also want to thank Mansha, his daughter, Mr. Khan's daughter, who's been very, very helpful in actually coordinating this session. Mr. Khan is such a busy person. To get him on phone calls is very, very difficult. But
Mansha set up the whole thing. So I came in the last minute and straight away buzzed into this.
Right. Mansha has been so helpful to us, and thank you so much, all of you. And thank you once again, sir. On behalf of the All India President of the SAI organization, I take this opportunity to thank you, and let's meet up soon. Over to you, Swati.
Thank you, Gopi. Thank you so much. And it's been really a very rare privilege today to interact and take such beautiful questions, particularly more than the presentation part of it.
Yes.
I enjoyed the interaction.
Thank you.
Offering my pranams and thanks to Swami for connecting us all through his love and abundant grace. Thank you, Gopi uncle. On behalf of the entire team of the Sri Sathya Sai National Leadership Program for Self-Transformation and everyone present here, I take this opportunity to thank you, A.K. Khan sir, for this powerful satsang, connecting each of us on this sterling journey. We will hold more dear your words and experiences that reassures each of us that Swami is our indweller. You have filled our hearts with your bhava to Swami. We vow to be on the path of Sai's transformation. You'll continue to inspire all of us through your service the Sai way. Thank you, sir, for your time this evening. Our thanks to Gopi uncle for his tireless efforts and round-the-clock guidance and being instrumental in connecting to us such inspiring devotees of Swami. Thank you, Sister Sharvari, for the beautiful introduction. Thank you to all participants and everyone present here. Kudos and thanks to the entire team of Satsangatve Nissangatvam and the IT team for your continuous efforts and dedication. Towards a stronger Sai Seva Sadhana Saga, we are ever grateful to Swami and we offer it all at his divine lotus feet. May we now close with prayers. Thank you. Jai Sairam.
Thank you.
Samastha Lokah Sukhino Bhavanthu. Samastha Lokah Sukhino Bhavanthu. Samastha Lokah Sukhino Bhavantu. Shanti, Shanti, Shanti. Jai Bolo Bhagwan Shri Sathya Sai Baba Ji ki